NeilHaley.com and all those different places. So I'm excited to welcome the program, and I'm really, it's going to be a fun conversation. Carol Murphy. Carol, thanks for calling. How are you?
Hi, Neil. I'm great. Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. And kind of learning what your mission is a very good way to lead out how you discovered this mission, because so many of us have such great things to bring to the world. I was interviewing all these amazing authors in the Miami Book Fair this weekend, and everyone was an expert that was trying to bring their passion to others. So, yeah, tell me a little bit about your journey.
Well, I have to start with my hometown where I grew up here in Butte, Montana. And Butte is a super fun cleanup site. So I got to grow up here during what I like to call the bust of the boom and bust cycle that centered around the industry of mining. So growing up, I got to see what happens when business is done in a way that is focused strictly on profits. And now, as a result of that, we have a multi-billion-dollar cleanup that has been 30 years in progress. So my mission began there, and I really saw that if we took a different approach to business, it could revolutionize the way that communities evolve and prosper. And I really feel strongly that doing business better can change our planet in a very powerful way.
Oh, absolutely. And that's the thing where if we do it right and help the right people, things go well, right? Our whole environment and society goes well, right?
Yes, and this, if we look at it in a kind of a multifaceted way rather than just focusing strictly on the bottom line, it's a little counterintuitive because studies have actually shown that sustainable companies actually over the long term are more profitable. So under the old paradigm, the idea was if we really focus on making money over the long term, this is how we will make the most money. But in fact, the opposite of that is true. If we focus on benefit, long term will be more profitable.
Yeah, I mean, absolutely. And it's something that that for the long term, we have to stay the course, right? You can't just jump to conclusions and say,
exactly.
"Oh my gosh, but this isn't this. There's nothing going to happen from this." This business isn't profitable first couple of years, even though it's going to help everybody in so many ways. We're just going to pull the plug really quickly. That just doesn't work. You got to stay the course in business.
Right. And what happens is by strictly focusing on profits quarter by quarter, what happens is there are a lot of hidden costs of doing business that way, and those costs are transferred to future generations. So that's something that's not always taken into account with a business that's focused strictly on the bottom line. So all of this is what inspired me to found Purse for the People. And I also do a talk radio program called Heartstock.
Okay.
And all of it is really centered on the concept and the idea of social entrepreneurship.
And that's great. So most of your guests on the show, and we'll go to that really quickly, have to do with social entrepreneurship. What kind of guests have you had on your program? And then we'll get into your product and stuff. Yeah.
It's been an evolutionary process. When I first started out doing Heartstock Radio, it's a production of our local public radio station, KBMF, and I simply started interviewing folks that were involved in the new paradigm business or social entrepreneurship, and a lot of local folks that had a very community-centric approach. And it has evolved now to a little bit of a different format where we pick a topic or a subject, and then we interview multiple people around that subject. So, for example, the last program that we did we focused on visioning and a process of Superfund cleanup here. The community is currently involved with a visioning process. What is it that we would like to see here in the places that I like to call our dead zones? And that led me to just interview a lot of folks and talk about things like the 7 generations principle. Every decision that we make as a corporation, if we take, or a small business even, if we take that approach and ask ourselves the question, how will this impact our community, our children for the next 7 generations, that will help us make the right choices.
Oh yeah, and so sometimes it's just a convo, right? A conversation with people that are entrepreneurs, but really kind of educating them in this whole social business model, right? For sustainable business.
Exactly. Yes. So one of the topics that kept reoccurring were green spaces. Folks in our community really wanted green spaces, more green spaces. And you might ask yourself, well, what does this have to do with business? And this is a more conscious approach to business. How can we create not just a business that helps a community, but a community that attracts more business? So the more green space we have, the healthier the community, the more likely we are to attract new businesses here. And a sustainable economy that's not just based on one industry.
No, it isn't. It's based on a variety of industries for sure. So you talked about, the fact of looking at, is this good for the environment? Is this good for our climate in general? Is this something that is going to not harm? So let's look at a business and see, how are we becoming more green? And you're giving those suggestions how to become more green right on your radio program.
Well, certainly, and to take a broader perspective rather than just focusing strictly on the day-to-day operations of your business, to think more broadly, because we really are all in this together and we're all interconnected. So what I do may have a much broader impact, whether it be in a negative or a positive way, upon my entire community and vice versa. So I, as a business owner, am going to work on all of those levels. What can I do on a community-wide basis that's going to create an environment? For example, searching for employees. Are there things that I can do within my local education system to help prepare graduates to be better employees? It's a much, much broader mindset and approach.
All right, so let's go back to your product now. That's great that you have the radio program. That's fantastic, because you're going to get other people to get the mission. People listening to the program are going to say, okay, I need to step up what I'm doing as an entrepreneur. I got to figure out certain green in certain ways. And the employees I hire, they need to have that kind of mindset and process. But let's talk about your product now. Okay.
So the product in the company, the company name is Purse for the People, and the product itself is an eco-friendly handbag, and it's sourced internationally. The outer shell, I like to call it, of the handbag is made from rattan. The beautiful thing about rattan is it's a very sustainable, natural product that grows in the rainforest. So you can harvest 3 or 4 stalks off of the plant, come back 3 years later, and reharvest it. In order for the rattan to grow, the trees, the forest itself has to be left standing. So indirectly, it's encouraging the conservation of the rainforest. So we import the rattan here locally. Customer goes online. They get to design the bag themselves using specialized software. Then we assemble it, snap it together, and ship it to the customer's door. Right now, the phase that we're in, we're importing the non-customized bags and selling them to help fund and build our manufacturing here in the USA.
That's fabulous. And that's a tremendous thing. And what has been the feedback so far from you in this initiative? Your
Mostly positive feedback. There's a lot of skepticism sometimes because of the old ideas of focusing strictly on profits. And there's a little bit of an old idea that it's too expensive to take care of the environment when we do business, and it will decrease the bottom line, and business will fail if it does this. So what I've witnessed in my own lifetime is that it's too expensive not to take care of the environment. Doing it the other way, the old way, actually just transfers hidden costs to future generations, and
Definitely.
then they end up carrying a very heavy burden that is very detrimental to a community's economy and to business in general. So most of the feedback that I've gotten, though, has been very positive, and people really like the idea of using technology to create something themselves. It's a very creative process and product. It's a little bit like how Tesla manufactures their car. If you go onto a Tesla lot, there are no cars other than the models that you drive. Then you go to the computer,
Right, yeah.
and you get to design the car. So it's a very efficient way of manufacturing because you don't make anything until somebody buys it. So I find that really exciting.
Well, I love that for sure. So, Carol, best place we can purchase your handbags, listen to your radio show, check it out, have conversations about sustainable businesses and how we need to become greener. Where can we go?
Just go to purseforthepeople.com, and all of the links are there. You can shop. You can listen to our podcast. There are links to KBMF, and you can drop us a line. I have many topics that I've blogged about. You can read our blogs and leave me a comment. I'd love to have a conversation with you.
Well, you're fabulous, Carol. I remember you at the National Publicity Summit for sure with the handbags, and I'm finally glad we got a chance to chat. I am crazy busy, but I definitely, and I don't make decisions. My producer does. If you would see the craziness of going into Thanksgiving and kind of getting close to losing my voice, but I'm making it through, Carol. But I appreciate you calling, and best of luck, and continue to live your mission, okay?
Thank you so much, Neil. It's been a lot of fun. I really appreciate it.
All right, Carol, take care.